In this video, we will be going over how to safely operate the table saw. Table saws have historically been one of the more dangerous tools in a scene shop. This has to do with the way in which you operate the table saw. Underneath this guard here, we'll find the blade. Before I expose this blade, however, I'm going to unplug the saw. The outlet for our table saw is over here behind the shovels. It is the outlet labeled table saw. I'm going to unplug the saw, and I'm going to take the plug, I'm going to place it over here, far away from the outlet so that there is little chance that it could become plugged in while I have the blade exposed. Now that the saw is unplugged, I can lift this guy up, and I can expose the blade. So with the table saw, the blade is stationary, and we are pushing the material towards the blade. That is what makes this so dangerous. We are actually moving our hands towards the blade. Now, that said, we have taken steps to lessen the danger of you cutting off your finger. Namely, we went out and we purchased this fancy saw stop. The way the saw stop works, when this blade is spinning, it runs a small electrical current through the blade. When the blade comes into contact with anything conductive, like your finger, then there is a braking mechanism that engages that stops the blade in under 1/1000th of a second. Now, that said, every time the system is tripped, we have to replace the braking cartridge and we have to replace the blade. Cartridges cost about $60, blades cost about $40, so it's about $100 every time the system is tripped. So I will not be demonstrating how the system works. If you would like to see the system in operation, then go to Google and search for Time Warp Saw Stop, and you'll see a lovely episode that the Discovery Channel did of the saw stop in action in slow motion, and you'll actually see the inventor of the saw stop place his finger on the blade as it's spinning. So we have our material here. Let's say we wanted to cut this material to 4 inches. I am not going to mark the material. That is not how the table saw works. The table saw works in that you have this fence that is movable. So I'm going to adjust the fence, and using the ruler over here, I'm going to set it to 4 inches. You will note I'm using the window that is on the right-hand side of the fence, not the one that is on the left-hand side. The one that's on the left-hand side is used for a different purpose. When we first set this up, this ruler was pretty perfect, but over time things have been knocked around and it's become less accurate. So I want to double check the measurement with my tape measure. We are measuring the distance between the fence and this side of the blade. In particular, the widest portion of the blade, which is actually the very outside edge of one of these teeth. So I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to hold it up there. And I can see that I need to adjust my fence just a little bit. And hold it up. And now I'm at 4 inches. Now I've got my distance set. Let's talk about blade height. Rule of thumb for the table saw is whatever the thickness of the material is, you want about 1/2 inch or 1 full tooth above that. What we have right here is way too much blade exposed. To adjust the height of the blade, it is this big wheel on the front here. This knob in the middle, spin it, that unlocks the wheel, and then spin the wheel one way, blade goes up, spin the wheel the other way, blade goes down. So we're looking for about 1/2 inch or 1 full tooth above. So something kind of like that. Once we've got our height where we want it to be, spin the knob in the center, and that locks it into place. So we have our distance set, we have our blade height set. We can bring the guard down, snap that into place, and we can plug our saw in. When operating the saw, we are going to be pushing the material towards the blade. As we get closer to the blade, my hand here is starting to get awfully close to that blade. I don't want my hand in there, so I can use a push stick as a substitute for my hand. Now there is a piece of wood that hooks onto the back of the material that is next to the blade, not my hand. There will be times when both the piece that you're keeping and the offcut, your hands will be getting awfully close to the blade. In those instances, we would use two push sticks, one on the piece we're keeping and one on our offcut, and use them to push our material. Before you start your cut, you want to make sure that your push sticks are in easy reach and not way over here. The last thing you want is to get to here and realize, oh, I need a push stick, and they're way over there and I can't reach them. When the blade is spinning towards you, so what that means is if you take your hands off, both hands off the material, then that blade is going to send all the material back at you. You do not want to get here and take both your hands off to grab your push sticks. That would be a bad thing. So you want to make sure that your push sticks are within easy reach before you start. Additionally, the geometry of the material matters. You always want, when operating the table saw, to have the longer side up against the fence, like so, not the shorter side, like so. Reason being, because we have all this material over here and such a short area to work with, we can get, it is more likely that we will come off the fence like so or like so and bind on the blade. Again, that blade is spinning towards you. If you bind on the blade, it's going to send all this material back at you. That's a bad thing. So again, we want the longer side up against the fence, and as we're operating the saw, we want to keep an eye on the relationship between the material and the fence, that we are nice and tight to the fence and not starting to get off one way or the other because of the potential for binding. Additionally, we want to position ourselves so that we are not standing directly in line with the blade. So we can do something off to the side like this, or, and this is a little more awkward, we can stand like this. We just want to avoid putting our bodies directly in line with that blade. To start the saw, it is a multi-step process. On the front here, we have our on-off switch. Turn the saw on. You'll see a solid green light and a flashing red light. That means that the system is initiating. Solid green light means that the system is ready. The dust collector for the table saw is not integrated. That is, this remote here controls the dust collector. So we're going to turn the dust collector on and pull the paddle to start the saw. We would push to stop the saw. Solid green light, system's ready. I'm going to start the saw. And I'm going to make my cut. Again, keeping an eye on the material against the fence. We're staying nice and tight to the fence. When we're making our cut, we want to push both pieces of the material all the way through, so both the piece that we are keeping and our offcut, so that they are clear of the blade before we take our hands off of them. Again, because the blade is spinning towards us, if we take our hand off of it, then it can send all the material back at us. So we've made our cut, turned off the saw, turned off the dust collector. We stopped the saw, turned off the dust collector, now we're going to turn off the saw.